The Konoibi priesthood of Egypt released 43 mystery books, one of which was the knowledge of one Jehoshua ben Azariah, who came to be known as Jesus Christ. This is what it contained. This is the ineffable name of God, which Jehoshua, known as Jesus Christ, unlocked with the signet of the manifested God, or Caduceus, or in its simplest form, the Tao, which represents the four corners of the world, which when connected with straight lines draws a celestial equilateral square around the world, called squaring the face or squaring the circle. The quantifiable, orderly, measurable square makes the irrational chaos of the circle rational and orderly, thereby allowing humanity to make precise calculations about the spherical nature of Earth, like its diameter and radius, but also became the roots of sacred geometry, which can be used for celestial calculations and measurements of the universe beyond Earth. It is also the basis of music, mathematics, the Fibonacci sequence, and language, essentially revealing knowledge about the unseeable occult forces of God present everywhere the human looks, and the world within the human. The Pythagorean music of the spheres comes from this, so too Hindu, Buddhist, Egyptian, Mexican, Aztec, and Olmec cosmogony, and even the African Dogon tribe of Mali. A basic tenet of the Tetragrammaton and Freemasonry is as above, so below, and as without, so within, and everything in the heavens has its correspondence within the human, because every human is a mind, and every mind is a universe, because we all exist in the universal mind of God, the Tetragrammaton. The Tetragrammaton is the mind of God and your mind, and as there are planets in the heavens, there are chakras, their human counterparts, in you. All of which is the meaning behind the Tau or the cross symbol, for which there is a Masonic tradition to build upon three of these crosses, forming the triple Tau, or three crosses, and the origin for the Masonic signet. In its mystical sense, the Tau, or Egyptian cross, in the Tetragrammaton is the secret key of all the occult sciences and forces. The cornerstone of Freemasonry knowledge, mythology, and construction. The same knowledge of Moses and his own magical serpent staff, and of the Mexican Quetzalcoatl, all of which are serpent science. This key, called the Ophite Serpent Key or the Caduceus, unlocks the rest of the Tetragrammaton, or shared mind between you and God, the knowledge known and kept secret by the ancient priesthoods and the Freemasons today as simply Magia Scientia Serpens, the magical serpent science. Jehoshua also wrote books concerning magic which he delivered to John, the work called Magia Jesu Christi, which was attributed to Jehoshua himself, being his best codex. And the charge was brought against Jehoshua that he did not perform his miracles as a Jewish prophet. And again, why would he? He wasn't Jewish but a Kabbalist, but as a magician, i.e. an initiate of the heathen Hierophant temples. The accusations against Jehoshua of practicing the magic of Egypt were numerous and at one time universal in the towns where he was known in Judea. It was said Jehoshua could fly as easily in the air as others could walk on earth. Jehoshua said, "Upon this Petra I will build my church, and the gates and the rulers of Hades shall not prevail against it." Meaning by Petra again the rock temple or mountain cave, literally and metaphorically. It was both the location from which he would preach his own knowledge in his Magia Jesu Christi, which combined the Nazarene Kabbalist code with the Horus Ophite serpent science. All things, says the Nazarene Codex, are derived from one great principle, and this principle is the unknown and invisible God. From him a substantial power immediately proceeds, which is the image of God, Christos, and the source of all subsequent emanations, serpents. Matter is the most remote effect of the emanated energy of the deity, which swim like fish and crawl like snakes through the feminine menstruum. Here we find the trinity of Christos, the active force, the feminine menstruum or passive force, and the serpent or androgyne force, the father, mother, and child, respectively. The appellation of Nazarene, which Jehoshua bore, came not only from his father's residence in Nazareth, but from his affiliation with the sect of Nazaria, the healers. The oldest Nazarenes were the descendants of the scriptural Nazars, otherwise known as the connections, the Naz, to the Arya, the Nazaria. Which was but one region home to the roots of this once global serpent universal knowledge, along with the ancient giant pyramid builders of Chem, known as Egypt, of Atlantis, now known as the land off Mexico with its many Atlan-based names, onward connecting to Africa, and the pyramids that dot Africa, the Americas, China, Russia, and the Arctic poles, and whose last prominent leader was John the Baptist, and afterward fled Judean Jewish persecution. Even Herod regarded John as a prophet, which indicates Jehoshua's true ripe age, as he fled the persecution of the fledgling Jewish state under King Jannaeus, and lived long enough to know King Herod. In fact, Jehoshua suffered the obscene torture at the ripe age of 78, the reason the tarot itself ends upon the 78th card. The early Gnostics believed too that Jehoshua was a true prophet. The meaning of the word Nazar signifies to vow to consecrate oneself to the service of God. This God is the first cause, or Christos, that emanates its forces as serpents or fish through the feminine menstruum. The active father electric force, which spawns from the passive ether of mother, and the magnetic force, the electromagnetic androgyne child who moves through the invisible menstruum like a crawling snake or swimming fish. But God is not one of them. God is all of them. So, to understand the unity of God, or the quaternary or cubical stone, as God is the fourth from which the Trinity emerges, one must understand the equality and oneness of the Trinity of the other three, not splice them, rank them, and then just erase one entirely because you're a misogynist. Or misname the Trinity as God. For God is more appropriately the quaternary. It was this Kabbalist understanding the ancient Nazaria or Nazarias initiated their future healers like Jehoshua inside the Nazar or temple, which were but the secret mysteries of serpent science initiation, which Jehoshua truly understood when he got their secret meanings revealed to him in Egypt. This Nazarene sect is known to have existed some 150 years BCE, during the times of King Jannaeus and King Herod, close to 100 years prior to the supposed New Testament accounts. This sect was also known to have lived on the banks of the Jordan and on the eastern shore of the Dead Sea, and thus the Dead Sea Scrolls, amongst which the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is paramount, is attributed to them. The Nazarenes were baptized in the Jordan and could not be baptized elsewhere. The Nazars were prophets trained in the ancient wisdom of their founder, Zoroaster, and was the supreme chief magi from the ancient land of Arya, which after the biblical and very real deluge re-established itself in India, where Zoroaster gained his knowledge and brought it to Persia, which makes sense that there would be 3 magi at Yahushua's birth. He was already among them, destined to be one of them, and they no doubt were privy to the secrets of the Trinity of 3, thus showing up as 3 magi at this future magi's birth. Zoroaster established the knowledge of ancient Atlantis, Chem, Arya, Mexico, all one and the same. In Persia, Zoroaster was the instructor of the Greek Pythagoras, who brought the ancient knowledge to the Greeks, who later established a mystical school in Koinobi, Egypt, blending both the Greek and Egyptian mysteries, both of which echo the Kabbalah. It was with the Koinobi, Jehoshua the Nazarene received his education in their dwellings in the desert, and was duly initiated in the mysteries of Ophis at the Temple of Osiris and the predecessors of Freemasonry. But he preferred the free and independent life of a wandering Nazaria, thus becoming a traveling Nazar or healer. The Nazarenes loved one another, entered one another's homes, even strangers', as though visiting a long-lost relative, embracing them as though to recover all that lost time, and more than other Jewish sects, which were themselves disjointed and pagan at this time, yet branching from the same tree of Kabbalah. Neglected wedlock, deeming the conquest of the passions to be more virtuous than marriage. Which is why he never married Mary Magdalene, even as a 78-year-old, but preferred her above all others. Mary herself was Mary of Magdala, from the region called Magdala, and was the learned and well-to-do daughter of the high priest, or Hierophant, of Magdala, herself initiated and well-learned in the mysteries of this fishing community. Thus, a high priestess herself, and a suitable match for Jehoshua in the literal and mystical. The Nazarene Codex also taught, "Thou shalt not worship the sun, or serpent, or fish, or androgyne child, who is named Adonai, also Kadosh, Yahweh, Jehovah, also called the phallic gods, or Baal. This phallus Baal Adonai will elect to himself a nation to congregate in crowds because he loves his worship to be exoteric, flashy, and pompous. Jerusalem will become the refugee city-state of the abortive, not the chosen, who shall perfect themselves through circumcision with the rusted sword and foggy mirrors of the phallic Adonai Baal." All religions born from this Baal Adonai are in Jerusalem, and all believe themselves to be chosen and practice circumcision to indulge the phallic Baal. Chosen indeed, and fooled all the same in oh so many ways. Did Jehoshua, the healer, the Nazarene, ever pronounce the name of Jehovah Adonai? Did he ever place the supreme soul of the first cause in contrast with the severe and cruel judge, the phallic Baal Yahweh? In fact, the Nazarenes had a name for the phallic god of the Jews, Ildaboath, the evil serpent, or demon.
How to invest with as little as £1. With Trading 212, you can buy fractional shares with zero commission. Now you can own even the most expensive stocks. Get the Trading 212 app and start building wealth today.
One in 7 children does not have enough food to lead a healthy and active life. But what does it take to end global hunger? It costs 80 cents to feed one hungry child for one full day. The Share the Meal app enables you to share your meal with children in need. All it takes is 80 cents and a tap on your smartphone, whenever you want, wherever you are. The United Nations World Food Program provides the meals. We show you where the children are and how we are progressing. Now picture this. Smartphone users outnumber hungry children by 20 to 1. Imagine the impact you and your friends can have. Together we can end global hunger. We share the meal. Will you?
The evil serpent, or demon. Jehoshua is God of mercy, love, and justice, never from the memorable day when he preached his Sermon on the Mount in his Pythagoras-inspired cave to his death and resurrection, ever compared his God, the first cause, the unity, and the all, with the Judeo-Christian Jehovah of destruction and retaliation, because to Jehoshua, Jehovah Adonai was an emanation, a serpent, a fish, or androgyne child, born from the same feminine menstruum, mother, and Christos father, just like him, a cow, a pig, a bird, all of which are equal to each other and to Jehovah Adonai, except he has proven to be neither a pig or animal, but an evil serpent, or Ildaboath, the demonic phallus and ball. The language of Jehoshua is unequivocal. It implies not only rebellion but defiance of the God of Moses and Abraham's Lord God, the phallus and ball. Puns intended. From the Bible, you have heard Jehovah tell us that it hath been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. You have heard that it has been said by the name Lord God on Mount Sinai, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them who despitefully use you and persecute you. Yet, if not the Jehovistic God Jehoshua of Nazareth preaches and teaches about, who is he talking about? What is he talking about? This golden rule of supreme love was not original to Jesus. In this current cycle of humanity, after the biblical deluge or great flood that ended the ancient civilization of the giants of Atlantis, Arya, the Mexican Nagual, and Cam, the next birthplace or inheritance of this knowledge was in the next occult secrets revealed. We will discover the inheritors of this pre-Diluvian serpent science knowledge, which prior to becoming Christ consciousness was called Krishna consciousness, and whose devotees called Christians called their godhead Brahma, all of which was cloaked, perverted, and Frankensteined into the new Christians whose God simply became Abraham. We will also continue our explorations into Jehoshua and his resurrection and how he did it using the Ophite serpent key to unlock the tetragrammaton of his mind, which is the micro version of the mind of the first cause and your mind, signifying that the only God you need is the gray matter in your brain. The teachings of Jesus are wrapped around Christmas because all of it is a retelling and allegory of pineal gland activation, which is the true new Christ consciousness, which upon Jehoshua's death, the reactivation of every single one of his inner chakras during his resurrection caused the planetary counterparts in the solar system to ring like 7 trumpets, causing Earth herself to shift her axis, thereby replacing the old Krishna consciousness down below on Earth and its celestial counterpart above, known as the zodiac, sidereal, and Vedic astrology, all of which pertains to the old Krishna consciousness, but for the last 2,000 years has been replaced by a totally new astronomical schema and the real new astrological Christ consciousness grid for human evolution, all of which has been secreted, cloaked, and Frankenstein by the Jehovistic Adonai Yahweh religions and their Freemasonry priesthoods of the demonic phallus and Baal. Because as you will see, Jesus Christ does exist, and the second coming is possible for you today, right now, but only if you activate and awaken the gray matter of your brain, because that is the true temple of God. It is the very physical and tangible presence of God making you a revelation, and so too everyone else. And you don't need to go to any church, synagogue, what have you. You only need to go within. And until next time, trust and believe that it is okay to be you, the most beautiful you there ever was, there is, and that there ever will be, because you are not a story that can be told twice, and there will never again be a stage for you to perform but this one, right here, right now. So be you, the most beautiful you.
At TikTok, we're known for entertainment, but behind the scenes, we're committed to safety within our community.